Order. Question number 2, Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by all his statements?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
How does he justify his statement that his government was totally vindicated by the Auditor General's report into the Sky City deal when that report said that the process was flawed, not transparent and established deficiencies on behalf of both ministers and officials?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, he can justify that statement because the opposition asked for that inquiry on the basis that they believed they could knock the deal over. But of course that didn't happen, and now hundreds of Aucklanders will benefit from the long-term job creation of a national convention centre that is finally one of international proportions.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Is it correct that in the course of 6 months while the tendering process for the convention centre was underway, he, his Deputy Prime Minister or his Chief of Staff met with Sky City a total of 6 times, and if so, were other bidders for the convention centre build given the same opportunity?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, by the sound of it, that was less meetings with Sky City than the Labor Party had.
Supplementary
point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Appreciate that there were 2 legs to that question, Mr. Speaker, but neither of them were addressed.
And on this occasion, I think the member raises a fair point. Would he please ask the question again?
Mr. Speaker, is it correct that in the course of the 6 months while the tendering process for the convention centre was underway, he, his Deputy Prime Minister or his Chief of Staff met with Sky City a total of 6 times, and if so, were other bidders to build the convention centre given the same opportunity?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, I can't confirm that detail. But the opposition have tried very hard to raise issues of probity about the negotiations. They have failed, even after the Auditor General's close and forensic examination of the whole process. And I suspect that it followed a similar process to the same one that the previous Labor government.
Point of order.
The acting Prime Minister said at the start he didn't have the information. He's now going on to irrelevant material. His answer should end.
Order. It was a relatively political question, but the Minister on behalf of the Prime Minister has now adequately addressed the question.
Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
What is his response to Major Campbell Roberts from the Salvation Army, who said the proposed legislation cancels out any benefits, that the harm minimisation measures allowed for in the legislation are a joke, that they are neither robust nor effective, and that they do not represent any significant improvement on the current ineffective practices of Sky City Casino that are already failing to reduce gambling harm? What is his response to Campbell Roberts' comments?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, I have a great deal of respect for Major Campbell Roberts. He's a long time and thoughtful advocate for many New Zealanders who don't always have an effective voice. In this case, we simply disagree with them, and it wouldn't be the first time.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Are national MPs exercising a conscience vote on the legislation coming to the House today?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the national MPs are voting consistent with the manifesto in which they campaign. And I know that's a novelty for the Labor Party, but we take it very seriously. And I have noticed there are no Labor MPs on a conscience vote.
Point of order, Grant Robertson.
That was an extremely direct question, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister has not answered.
And it was answered.
No.
It was answered by saying consistent with the manifesto. That is an answer. That is that I rule as satisfactory.
Points of order, sir. First on that one. Can you
Honourable
indicate
Trevor Mallard,
whether saying something is consistent with the manifesto, does that indicate that it's not a conscience vote?
Order. That is not for me to indicate. It's for the Minister to answer it the way he decides. And it is my job to determine whether, in my opinion, the question has been adequately addressed. I have done that. Second point of order.
The second point of order, sir, is both when Grant Robertson was taking a point of order, and when you were ruling on it, 4 or 5 members, including especially the Minister for Economic Development, were interjecting.
And members all members know that points of order should be heard in silence, and when they're not heard in silence, it leads to that sort of point of order being quite legitimately raised by the member. I will look for further breach. Hopefully there will be no further breaches today, but I'll keep an eye on it. Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
When he says national MPs are going to vote in accordance with the manifesto, does that mean national MPs are exercising a conscience vote in the bill before the House today?
Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, it means that the National Caucus, as is its right to do, decides how it's going to vote. It is a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding that the Speaker or the Parliament decide on that. They don't. And the National Caucus has decided to keep its promise, to deliver on what it said, which is an international convention centre and the thousands of jobs that go with it, having weighed up all the issues involved with expanding the convention centre.
Question number 3, Andrew Williams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Building and Construction, has he